So.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. At the Township of Severn, we recognize the following land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, in which the Township of Severn operates, is part of the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have been inhabiting and caring for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Ojibwe or Chippewas peoples. This territory is covered by Lake Simcoe Treaty 16 and the J. Collins Land Purchase. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. We'll now sing our national anthem, please. Just a moment of reflection, please. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Taylor.
Yes, I'd like to declare item J 1.1, the pecuniary interest on the agenda item regarding housekeeping amendment pertaining to the Coldwater Mill Heritage Foundation. I am a volunteer director with the Coldwater Mill Heritage Foundation.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, seeing none. Moving on, no public meetings, no presentation, consent agenda. Are there any items that council would like to pull? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Thank you. The motion reads that the agenda be adopted, including consent items.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jansen, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on. What's the next thing? Oh. Oh, my computer went off for some reason. Thank you. I'll get it back on. Good morning. J 1.1 planning report number P24-046 housekeeping amendment to the township zoning bylaw. Who would like to speak to that? Ms. Mandeville.
Good morning. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I I'll just give a little bit of background for perhaps members of council that aren't so familiar with our housekeeping amendment term. So we have over the years done what we call and is in the industry known as a housekeeping amendment. So that's where staff bring forward issues that are perhaps not working in the zoning bylaw or that require clarification. Just as everyone here knows, planning is always subject to interpretation. It's always a gray area. So if we can make some clarifications in the zoning bylaw to try and facilitate a smoother situation, that's generally what staff try to bring forward through housekeeping amendments. We also historically have brought forward multiple map corrections, being the schedules to the bylaw. So when the township first completed a fulsome zoning bylaw for the Township of Severn in 2010 that was passed, there were some mapping issues that basically came up as a result of that. So we do always try and correct those as well. In 2015, we did new zoning bylaw or new zoning schedules, new zoning bylaw maps. And that was to try and make our technology more available online. So now our online zoning tool where you can just enter your address and it populates your zoning. In 2015, we had to do updates to our digital mapping, if you will, to try and make that work basically online. So there are also some issues that arose out of that mapping. Sometimes people's properties get inadvertently zoned something. We have a resident in Coldwater, for example, whose entire property is zoned environmental protection. Just a mapping error that we need to try and correct. So the big point I want to make with housekeeping amendments is that notice is not given to neighboring property owners. So when the township as a whole wants to do a zoning bylaw amendment or a new zoning bylaw or like the new official plan, the notice requirements don't require you to give notice to the individual property owners that surround a property in question. So because it's going to be an amendment that affects the township as a whole, there's no requirement and there's no way even we could really do it to give notice to every single person in the mail. And on that point, the Planning Act has been changed that we no longer need to provide notice to neighboring property owners through the mail. Posting on the township's website is considered adequate notice. So of course here we do some social media blasts, we try and get the word out there, but just so council is aware, us still providing that notice to everyone within 120 meters, for example, for a zoning bylaw amendment, that is now above the requirements. Posting on the website is considered notice. We are still providing that mail out. With the recent Canada Post strike, we hand delivered to property owners, as we heard last week at Planning and Development Committee. So that's something I just wanted to point out that, there's a few properties here that I talk about in the report that are going to be basically site-specific amendments, but done through a housekeeping amendment. So those immediate neighbors would not necessarily receive that in the mail, and there would not be a sign posted on that property. Whereas if they came forward with a site-specific bylaw, say, for example, the mill, submitted a zoning bylaw amendment, those immediate neighbors would all get that notification through the mail. If we do it as part of our housekeeping amendment, those neighbors would not receive the notification in the mail. There would not be a sign on the property. We could ask these properties to put up a sign, the site-specific ones, but it would be a lot of staff time to try and figure out who to do mailing outs. Like that just is not the point of the housekeeping amendment. So I just wanted to flag the three properties in particular we're looking at here. So one is from the Coldwater Mill Heritage Foundation. Their current zoning is institutional. Oh, sorry. So the Coldwater Mill, their current zoning is institutional. Historically, they have had a restaurant as part of that institutional use. I think everyone, has been to some kind of museum or some kind of historic site that has a small cafe or a restaurant or something, and that would be incidental or accessory, we call it, to that main principal use. So we're just looking to clean that up and actually allow a restaurant to operate there. It has historically operated before the 2010 bylaw, so it would be considered non-conforming if that, was a primary use on the property, but just to clean that up and then also allow that restaurant to have perhaps its own accessory uses, such as, providing a catering service or providing, selling products or something like that. So the mill is the first one. The next property, site specific, we're looking at as another not-for-profit is the Gloucester Pool Cottagers Association. So we've talked to them over the years about their kind of clubhouse facility and their docking. For whatever reason, that property is zoned SR3, which is a common shoreline zone for water access or private road properties. Really that zoning should have never applied to this property. It's never been a residential property. It's never been used for that. The property has been in the association's name since 1959. So I mean, that use on that property well predates the zoning bylaw. So really that should have been in some sort of open space zone. We received a very detailed letter from the Cottage Association asking for some site-specific requests there in terms of some new docking they wanted to put in and just cleaning up that zoning for them. That really should have been done in 2010 when we did our new bylaw, because doing the new bylaw is an opportunity to try and fix some of those historic issues and clean those things up. Lastly, the third kind of site-specific property we're looking at here, because of course we already talked about the Coldwater seniors last week, so that's already included. So the third property in this report is our own West Shore Rec Center facility. Right now it has a residential zoning applied to it because it was part of a residential subdivision, and that land was previously zoned residential before we did the land swap. So people who have been on council a long time will remember that the rec center property was originally going to be in a different subdivision, and we swapped it for a parcel directly on Minoki Beach Road. That zoning, that residential zoning, was then already on Minoki Beach Road. We, as the township, could still put a rec center there because a public use is permitted in that residential zone. But just for clarity, we don't want people buying houses, moving in there, thinking that they're next to a residential parcel, when really they're next to an institutional parcel. And we're going to work with our colleagues here to make sure that there's no site-specific stuff required in terms of what that future rec center will look like. So to make sure that the institutional setbacks would work for the rec center, lot coverage, parking standards, all that kind of stuff. So it may end up that we put it into a site-specific zone, or it may just be the standard institutional zone, which is applied to the Coldwater Arena, the Washago Community Center, those types of township assets. So basically, we're here to get direction to help out those two not-for-profit organizations by incorporating this into a housekeeping. Otherwise, I think what we've all seen is that those not-for-profits would probably just come to council and ask council to waive the fees, and then we would do a site-specific rezoning. And that's a lot more staff time and therefore taxpayer dollars than just incorporating it into the housekeeping amendment. So that's why staff are seeking direction on that from council. Same with the West Shore Rec Center. If we did a site-specific zoning bylaw, that's more work for us and therefore more tax dollars at play. The other items that we'll be looking at in the housekeeping amendment are stuff that we would have brought forward normally anyway. We have historically done them, once a year, every 2 years. So clarifying definitions, adding new definitions if stuff has come up that we realize there's a hole, all of that kind of thing. So originally we had thought about doing this, in January of next year, but then all these other requests came in. So it's likely going to be February or March by the time we can bring this forward, because we don't want to bring forward something that's not going to work. For example, the rec center, we want to make sure the setbacks we need, the lot coverage, things like that are included. And then for these other requests, same thing. We want to make sure the docks the Cottage Association's proposing will actually, work with this new zoning that we're going to put in. We want to work with the mill to make sure, that everything they're looking for is covered. So we're not sure 100% on timing yet. Obviously, it'll come to Planning and Development Committee and we'll advertise the 20 days before. But just that's our current game plan.
Katie, well done. Any questions? Councillor Minnings.
I thank you through the chair. Thank you for this and also for pulling them all together. So it's nice to see it done in one comprehensive report. You did answer, I think, my question, which was around the timing. However, because it has to come to planning and development, is that the next step? I'm looking at really prioritizing this because you know, I'm hoping that it can be done quickly. So are you suggesting that it's a January planning and development meeting and then it would, you know, talk to me a little bit more about the exact timing with the 20 days, committee member or committee meeting, agenda item, and then when it comes to council, what are we looking at?
Ms. Mandeville?
Through the mayor to Councillor Minnings. Yeah, so any zoning bylaw amendment we do, whether it's a housekeeping amendment that affects potentially the entire township, or if it's a site-specific amendment, we have to give notice of at least 20 days. So unfortunately, just the way, you know, our Christmas, our holiday break is happening, it's really not possible for us to do that in January. We also have agenda deadlines here where we have to have the staff report done, you know, at least 2 weeks out basically from the meeting. So looking at all of that, looking at staff's current workload, our OLT appeals we have going on. We're hoping and aiming that perhaps this could be something coming in the February P&D, but more realistically, I have a feeling it's going to be coming to March P&D, and then it would be ratified basically at April council. So that's the timing there. It's strictly a resource issue. You know, if we wanted to hire a consultant to do the housekeeping amendment, perhaps it would happen sooner, but I'm sure it wouldn't, and it would cost a lot more money. So really just realistically looking at workload of the two planners, myself, our director, in order to try and get this right and make sure that we don't have other amendments within the next, you know, few months, hopefully. You know, we'll try and do that at you know, encompass all that. I should specify we will have housekeeping amendments in the future once our new OP is in place, which, you know, we're hopeful that Q1 of next year will lead to the new OP. So essentially this is going to be a fix. And then once the new OP is in, then we'll look at updating it again. So I would say realistically, I think we're looking at March P&D.
Is that Deputy Mayor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair. For the mill one, I know that I had talked to you and then I've talked to Keith Prentice, and I suggested that they would go and tell their neighbors the difference between the new renter compared to the other one, and he was quite good about that. And I'm thinking that you mentioned the other one was the same. So I'm sure that maybe when you're talking to these three, the Gloucester, they should maybe just let their neighbors know what's going on so that they don't sort of go one day, what is this? And I didn't know. Is that something we can do?
Through the mayor back to the deputy mayor. Yeah, absolutely. That is something you and I, of course, had talked about. And I think just being a good neighbor, and I think these organizations being not-for-profits and having the role they do in the community, I don't think they would want to be seen as trying to do something that perhaps the neighbors weren't aware of. I will have to check, but I think the Gloucester Pool College Association had to get a sign off already from their immediate neighbors to put in the dock because they do have their Trent permit already. But that is a good point. I mean, obviously the College Association has a huge mailing list that they could probably send out an email blast once we release our notice, kind of giving that individual notice. And the mill, I think that would be a great idea for the board, you know, to give a copy of our notice or to knock on some doors or do up a flyer or something and give, especially to those immediate neighbors, just about, you know, the new restaurant that they're hoping will go in and the change and cleanup of that zoning. They have asked for a food truck. So, you know, that may be something people there aren't used to if they are going to have a food truck there parked in the mill parking lot. So yeah, that's a great idea.
And I want to thank you, Katie, for pulling this all together, you and the planning staff. Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion, please?
Gotta hit it. Motion reads that planning report number P24-046 dated December 18th, 2024, with respect to a potential future housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment be received. And further, that planning staff contemplate the issues raised within planning report P24-046 within the next housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cox, second by Councillor McIntyre. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to Public Works report number W24-041 West Street Extension, Rhinebird Street, Assumption. Mr. Burke, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Through the mayor, this report kind of finishes off the project that started way back in actually 2018, more formally in 2019 with Municipal Class EA. And this is to assume the lands that are now considered Rhinebird Street, or the new Rhinebird Street, which is an extension off West Street. This bylaw basically imposes or enacts the municipal maintenance standards for the road. So road clearing, municipal inspections, and of course, opening the road. There will be additional work through the early part of 25 and later in this agenda to look at the old Rhinebird Street. This report focuses just on the extension of West Street.
Any comments? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to Derek. So in the future, will the township or the county have to go on Old Rhinebird Street ever?
Through the mayor, generally no, except for we do have a provision in the Municipal Class EA to continue a pedestrian service onto Rhinebird Street. So that'll come forward as like I said, additional reports to look at the condition of the existing asset to be used for that purpose. A lowering of levels of service is kind of what we're calling it. But going forward, it wouldn't be, full vehicular traffic, but light duty pickups and that sort of thing can access Rhinebird Street for maintenance at a pedestrian level. And in addition to that, there are some infrastructures that exist on Rhinebird Street that will remain. The sewage pumping station, the light duty, there's a bit of a water system there as well, and a collection system. And those are maintained through easement on the other properties. So, large vehicles don't need to cross the Rhinebird Street Bridge to gain access to that right of way.
Just a supplemental question. So is there access from the new Rhinebird Street to the old Rhinebird Street? Is there a township right away through there? The question was asked to me.
Through the mayor, we're working on an easement. So there's an easement, but it's not for public use. It's really restricted to municipal access servicing. Yeah.
And just one follow-up for this winter, then, are both roads going to be plowed, or what's the plan for that?
Yeah, through the chair, once a road is continues to be within the parcel for the road network, it gets service. So this year, both roads would get service. This actually already has been undertaken in the past few weeks. This assumption by law makes it formal and legal for us to do so and puts it into our road network. But both roads are going to be serviced through this winter until there's something called like a lowering of levels of service or a stop up and close of the right of way, so that removes that from our road network. That would be the old Rhinebird Street.
And just one last question. So that as far as emergency services go, they would use the new address would be the new road. Is that correct?
Yeah, through the mayor, the addressing actually stays the same, but what we've done is worked with our partners, both at the Canada Post, any real delivery style or address-based service, so OPP, police, school board, they are all been made aware of the change to the new West Street, which becomes in effect after the passage of this bylaw. And there's notes within the systems that can get better direction to where they can access these 6 homes. There's also on-site signage. So the on-site signage, if you came up to West Street or Rhinebird Street from River Street, you'll see signage that redirects you to the other access now.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Through the chair to Derek. Derek, so this now will help them because of the issues we had with that bridge, but it will also help the other private bridge owners in the future. We're waiting for them to come back to us.
Through the chair, I think they are still very different conversations, but I think at the end of the day, this road being assumed forms it as part of our road network. Therefore, I guess additional connections or entrances anywhere fronting this road allowance, would be permitted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Further comments? So I just have one. Mr. Burke took me in the fall, and I know that Councillor Jansen and Deputy Mayor Cox and Councillor Taylor are aware of the new build. Pretty impressive, but the amount of work, I don't think the scope, none of us sitting here realize what Mr. Burke had to go through with the 6 landowners to secure what we now have. What we no longer have is a bridge, thank God. A cost that would burden the residents of this township in the future. We now have a beautiful road, And we did speak to one of the residents, very happy. So Mr. Burke, thank you very much. I know it was a huge undertaking for you and your staff, but mostly you. And I know that we had some struggles, but thank you for everything that you did. It's beautiful. It looks great. Clerk, do we have a motion?
Yes, thank you. The motion reads that Public Works Report number W 24-041 dated December 18th, 2024, with respect to West Street Extension, Rhinebird Street Assumption be received. Further, that the extension of West Street named Rhinebird Street be assumed by the municipality by bylaw.
Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on. Morning, Jane. Have a good day. Merry Christmas. J 2.3 Public Works Report number W 24-043 Stormwater Management Facilities Operations Manual. Oh. Which one? Oh, do oh, okay. I read the wrong one. Sorry. 2.2 Rhinebird Street Bridge Restrictions. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, through the chair or through the mayor. So we put these in two different reports because they really are two different conversations. So this is now a report on the Old Bailey Bridge that connects River Street to Old Rhinebird Street. As a part of the level of service reduction, we retained Tatham Engineering for the annual inspection, as we do, which did result in additional corrosion and deterioration of the structure as we would have expected and had planned for since 2017 or 2018. And at this time, the two engineers that reviewed this site are recommending an immediate imposure of an additional load restriction on the bridge to 5 tons. That is your conventional pickup truck limited crossing, nothing more. Since the properties do have additional access now, we find it's appropriate to impose that restriction and then continue to have the conversation and monitor the condition of that bridge to derate it to a pedestrian only service level. And so reports coming in the new 2025 season will digest that more about what is feasible for the existing asset. How long does that asset have like a useful lifespan to the end? And what would we do to replace the asset if we were going to? So that's coming up, but this is a recommendation by our engineers to impose a load restriction on bridge.
Any comments? Councillor Minns.
Hi, thank you through the mayor. Derek, as far as emergency service vehicles, I've heard before that fire trucks and other emergency vehicles are more than 5 tons. So is there a special communication or posting that goes out for them in the interest of time if there was an emergency?
Yeah, certainly. So the process, once this bylaw is passed to reduce the load values for the bridge, is to erect signage. So it's there's a signage plan. We have the signs ready to go up. There is a communications plan that goes through, and individual property owners that are impacted are also provided notice. We've done this, I think, twice now. So it was first lowered to 4 tons as a sort of an emergency condition. We repaired that up to the triple load posting that it had before. So we've done this a few times. We circulate a notification package to those who would be affected.
Councillor Jansen.
Thank you to Mr. Burke. I know I'm assuming the bridge can withhold the weight of the snow plows that are on there now. Would it be will we be putting up the signage after the winter, or would it go up now and the snow plows would still just be allowed to go through?
So through the chair, so actually almost in its entire lifespan, we haven't been able to bring a snowplow onto the Rhinebird Street. The geometry, this is half the reason we had, concerns with just replacing that bridge in general. So we do use a much smaller and lighter fleet that goes and services that, and that is under 5 tons.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? So, Mr. Burke, can we take that Bailey Bridge and put it where the Woodrow Bridge is so that we don't have to spend $2.3 million? I'm only kidding. So my question is, why are we even allowing cars to go over top of it when we have access from behind? So why don't we just close it rather than have something happen when they're trying to use two entrances?
So through the chair, the amount of road users is almost negligible or zero, because all of the accesses have actually been flipped over already to the new West Street extension. So the amount of vehicles going across there is almost zero. The challenge is we haven't formally stopped up and closed the road as a road. So it's not out of our networks. Therefore, the minimum maintenance standards still apply. And we do have a historical level of service there. So we want to continue that and then follow the process to stop up and change and pull it out of our road network. We're just not there yet. So that's kind of the interim phase.
Thank you. Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair. So when will that happen? Like, how long will that take? Just out of curiosity.
So through the chair, we think through the first quarter of 2025, you'll see a couple of reports. One's going to be a recommendation to lower the levels of service of the bridge to a pedestrian. There has to be a gating system of some sort. There's, I think, improvements to the deck and the side walls, if you will, for a barrier system for pedestrians. So to bring that up to a pedestrian status is one project. And then the sort of legal work, if you will, the bylaw to close the road are two different processes, but they kind of go in the same. We'll bring that early in 2025 so that by, sort of summer, we'll have a decision on what we're going to do with the bridge and then with the roads derating, if you will.
Thank you very much.
Any further comments? Madam Clerk, have a motion, please.
Motion reads that Public Works Report number W 24-042 dated December 18th, 2024, with respect to the Rhinebird Street Bridge restrictions be received. And further that the draft bridge load restriction bylaw be considered.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Minning, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to Public Works Report number W 24-043 Stormwater Management Facilities Operations Manual. Mr. Burke, again.
Thank you. Through the mayor. Last one, I promise. So this report just highlights an opportunity to engage a consultant that we've had a good working relationship and some experience with the existing stormwater management facilities network that we have. And so part of the linear ECA, which is an environmental compliance approval from the Ministry of Environment, one of the conditions in that was to build an operations and maintenance manual, something that, operators could grab, see what the pond, functions as, what's its intended purpose, and how would you determine whether it needs service or not. So getting that manual pulled together is quite a technical undertaking. And this team here has experience in neighboring municipalities of doing much of the same. And so we recommend doing the first phase, which is implementing the creation of the operations manual, a background collection of as-built record drawings and things that Tatham Engineering actually happens to have probably as good, if not better, records than the township does on that. And then also to perform inspections. Following the inspections, we may look to do some bathymetric survey as well. So understanding where the sediment accumulation depths are in each pond. And then you'll see a recommendation throughout the number of probably decades of a pond cleanout program. So this is building a larger thing, but this is the first step, is to get the O&M maintenance manual and to comply with the linear ECA.
Thank you. Any comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion, please?
Thank you. Motion reads that Public Works Report number W 24-043 dated December 18th, 2024, with respect to stormwater management facilities operations manual be received. And further that single source procurement for the consulting services be accepted. And further that the project be awarded to Tatham Engineering Limited in the amount of $28,050 plus HST.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to corporate services, J 3.1 corporate services report number C 24-007 tax sale authority to vest. Who would like to speak to that? Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Fairly straightforward report. So we have properties once in a while that come up for tax sale, and this is one that we're recommending be vested. You may remember a delegation a couple months back that is directly tied to this parcel of land that he since after that delegation let go for tax arrears. And so just looking for council's direction to vest the property.
Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair. I'm glad that we're getting this back. And I'm glad that you gave the history of the fact that this does happen and did happen throughout that whole subdivision, because we were not aware of that. And we were told that that did not happen. So it's very nice to have it clarified. Thank you.
Any further comments? Madam Clerk, do you have a motion, please?
Thank you. Motion reads that Corporate Services Report C24-007 dated December 18th, 2024 regarding tax sale authority to vest be received, and further that staff be authorized to vest the property.
Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jansen, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? Carry. Thank you. On to Administration Report number A24-0422 Gateway Signage Designs. Tracy, morning.
Morning. So this report before you today, as you may recall, in the summer, we awarded a contract to a consulting company to provide us with 3 concept designs for the proposed gateway signs for the Township of Severn. These signs were initially included within the original 2021 approved signage plan and implementation strategy. Again, these are new signage assets. So right now we do not currently have any signage on Highway 400 or 11 or 12 welcoming visitors or residents to the township. So this report has been presented to you today to provide you with the 3 options and to get your direction on which option you think is most appropriate and what quantity of signs you would potentially like based on the approved budget for 2025 of 112.5 for the 5 total signs.
Thank you. Who would like Deputy Mayor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair to Tracy. Tracy, I have to tell you, I like the rustic rural charm. I think it's nice, but the only thing is it doesn't say welcome on it. All the other ones do. Well, how come? Just a question. I mean, it's supposed to be a welcome.
To the mayor, to Deputy Mayor Cox. Correct. I think it's probably just based on the design and the size of the logo and Severn. It's something that we could consider presenting back to the designer for concepts, but the other 2 do have that. That one doesn't. It's, you know, it's something for your direction, I guess, if that's something you would like to further pursue.
Yeah, no, it was just a question because it was just a question because of the fact that they do say welcome. So I don't know that if there's some way they could pump something up and do it and not charge us an extra millions of dollars. Other reason is I like it because it's nice and it's clean. The other ones are very nice too, but they look like something that, you know, welcome to Barrie or Sarnia or somewhere. And the other one is we're still over budget. So what do we do?
Tracy?
So through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cox, over budget in terms of.
It says in the report that there's $60,000.
Again, through the mayor.
Or am I wrong?
So the $60,000 was allocated for this year for the first phase of the project. You know, based on the original projections for the cost for this project, without doing any initial kind of investigation regarding quotes or other costs related to gateway signage. That was done in 2020 after I reviewed and acquired quotes to actually for the next phase of the project. Of course, the cost had increased. We don't have also the capacity nor knowledge internally to do the engineered drawings nor to do the site assessments. And we're also looking for this company to handle the MTO permit acquisition for us and the production of the tender documents. So the designs are just one component of what the $60,000 was utilized for. But again, that full cost was not utilized. We awarded this project in the amount of $33,000 to the consultant, but they will be doing all of those tasks for us. Moving forward within the 2025 budget, I did put forward a request for 112.5 thousand for the 5 signs, so approximately $20,000 to $22,500 per sign, based on the quotes that I had reached out to other municipalities who have done similar projects. And really, for these types of signs on the side of major highways, the cost is approximately $15,000 to $25,000 per sign.
Okay, so 5 signs. Can you just refresh my memory on each? Is it north, south each way? or east-west or whatever way they go?
So through the mayor to deputy mayor Cox, so you're asking where the sign locations are? So within the, no, that's fine. So pardon me, sorry.
If it's in here, that's fine. I just wanted to know are you planning on all of them this year or? Are you planning on all of them for 2025?
So through the mayor to deputy mayor Cox, that is at your discretion. So I've presented the information about the 5 signs. Two of those are proposed for Highway 400.
Yep.
So north
Yeah,
and south.
that's what I mean. One on each way. Right?
Yeah, and then as well, one on heading south towards Coldwater on the, sorry, pardon me. Yes, on the right-hand side heading into Coldwater, so kind of at the
Where the
base of
picture
the
is?
hill
Yeah.
past Moonstone Road. That's Moonstone Road, correct? And then the other 2 would be on Highway 12, so north and
11.
south, so Highway 11 north and south when you're entering and coming from Washego area. So leaving Severn and then entering into Severn just north of Washego.
Okay, thank you. But I really would like to look into if they could do a welcome on that one. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I really like the designs that were put forward. To me, the design that I'd like to see that we move forward with is the community celebration, the modern sign. I believe that we've got the money in our budget. To me, this would be the most memorable sign. If people are driving down the street and they see this, they're going to, I think they'll find it attractive. It draws your eye to it because of the different layers of it. And I think that it will be memorable. People may look up Severn when they're driving by it on their phones, their passengers, hopefully. And or when they get home. To me, the other signs aren't bad. I don't think it's not that they're not attractive. And the rural charm one, I think, is more attractive than the top design, the community pride. That one does fit in with our I guess our town kind of signs. It really fits that nature. But to me, I think we should be going with the most attractive sign, the one that's going to get the most eyeballs looking at it and possibly attract people into our communities.
Councillor McIntyre.
Thank you. Through the mayor, that's why there's chocolate vanilla. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on these 3 signs. I'll voice my opinion on it at the end. I just had a question through the chair to Tracy. Is it possible, or has there been any thought into bringing one of those signs on 169 coming from Ramera into the Washego area? And I'll let you answer that, and then I'll give my opinion on the other.
Through the mayor to Councillor McIntyre, I think I'll let the Director of Public Works answer this question. Thank you.
Yeah, through the mayor, if I can. So the project that, and if I remember, this might have been one of the first reports I wrote in 2017, was it was about the community gateway signage, which is an MTO project. It's so MTO being Highway 12, 11, and 400. County Road 169 is the county, the upper tier, but municipal roadway. And so when we looked at it, it was really geared to getting those higher volume traffic engagements through the program. That's the MTO driven program. That's why it wasn't selected for 169, let's say. I believe there is a community welcome sign scheduled or underway. Oh, it's in. Sorry, it's in. That is on those roadways, and that's what we've done with a number of the community welcome signs. So at a lower tier level and I'll call it an upper tier, but a municipal roadway, we have the community welcome signs, and then at that very high order, thousands and thousands of cars a day going across on the provincial highway system, like 11, 12, and 400, are these community gateway signs.
Thank you. Therefore, a follow-up, I'm not thrilled with that, but that's okay. I like sign number 3, as mentioned by Member Jansen, I think we gotta look forward to the next 20 years. The other ones are very nice. There's nothing wrong with them, but this is a modern sign. And I think that whether it's more money to manufacture and install, at this point, we're going to have it there for 20 or 25 years as we grow. I'd like the bang for the buck you're going to get on the modern community celebration sign, number 3.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, they're all fine. I share the other two councillors' opinions. I think 3 is the way to go. It looks really sharp and inviting, and it has everything we want. If I had to go to a second, I would go to 1. I don't favor 2 for the same reason, the welcome issue. It's not on there, but 3, for a few thousand, $13,000 or $1,000 more for, as you say, 20 years or so, that is one sharp piece of work, I think.
Councillor Minnings.
Thank you, and through the chair. So I have changed my mind from when I read the package earlier, and I do think that concept number 3 is, because it is an MTO type sign, and it really does announce the township. And when I look at it, it does remind me of the Barrie sign. And I remember when that Barrie sign went up on Highway 400, that it was very impactful and people could see it. The other reason I'm leaning towards this design is that it distinguishes the gateway from the other signs that we have within our wards. Number 2 looks very much like the signs in West Shore and the other communities in the township. And even though it still has the same look and feel, it definitely sets it apart and it's not confusing. And I would agree with the amount of traffic on those bigger highways. They are through traffic in many cases, and in speaking to people and even remembering before I moved to Severn, is that I didn't know I was going through Severn between Aurelia and Muskoka. So I think it really announces us. And to Deputy Mayor's point about including welcome, it does include welcome, and it definitely clearly announces the township. So for those reasons, I do like that one.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, the signs all look good through the mayor, but the option 3 there, you can still change the logo depending on, so it says that we could do one of the 5 logos. And I like that idea. That I'm just curious how you would, I guess, a decision on which 5 signs, which logos you'd have on there. But I like the idea that like say for the entrance in the Coldwater would have the mill there on north and south.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, pardon me. So in these situations, I don't know, like it's different than the banners. I'm not sure we'd want to break up the logo. Is that what you were maybe suggesting? I'm just
looking at your slide there on concept 3A, and it has the logo on the bottom right. You said each of the 5 signs could feature a different logo graphic, i.e. mill, kayak, sunset, trees downtown.
Pardon me. So yes, the kind of the cutout or the,
yeah.
Yes, I see what you mean. Pardon me. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Okay, so here's my problem. You've got $112,000 and this one is 97.5. And if we utilize all that money, we're going to have to come up with more money because we still need more signs. So we had a budget, and if we're over the budget, I have a problem with that because we need to stay within our budget with the way the times are right now. I understand. I get that sign. I liked it too, but we have a budget. And if we're going to do 97.5 for each one, and that's not including the 15,000 for each sign that's going to go on the side of the highway, plus a rental fee every year, which every sign's going to have. So I need more financial information on this. The 112,000, I assumed also was for some of the signs we still had to put around the township that we haven't done yet.
So through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cox. So the 112.5 is specifically has been identified for this gateway signage project. The full value requested in the 2025 budget for signage was actually $257,000. So that after the decision is made today, the intention is to bring back a amended signage report reflecting these decisions and the work that we've done in 2024 and the remaining work that is still required per the signage plan and implementation strategy. But the money that was totally requested for in the 2025 budget also includes signage for our recreation, so for our parks, as well as our utilities or our water wastewater locations, as well as our fire halls. So that was what that total amount was for. And that 257,000 includes this 112,500 within that total request.
Okay. I can't make a decision on this until the amended, I like to see a costing before I make a decision. I'm sorry, but I like to find out if we're going to pick number 3, I need to see that costing, how much it's going to really cost now that we have the numbers. And then I want to see all the rest of the signage costs so we can at least have some idea that we're in budget, staying budget, and we're, looking after our taxpayers' money. Thanks.
So just to that point, Tracy, I'm looking here. So concept 3, total cost is 97,500. You have 112,500, correct?
Sorry.
Well, it says that below
It
at
is
122, but Tracy said 112. So we're below budget, are we not? For these
So through the
costs?
mayor, in response to the mayor, correct, we are in that
Below
case.
budget.
And you are correct. Pardon me, it is 122,500.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. And also within the report, I have the work was done to acquire the quotes based on these designs. So after the designs were acquired, I acquired quotes from sign they're not formal, but sign fabricators and installers to estimate the costs associated with the fabrication and installation of these signs. An option is to as part of this project that we're continuing to do with the consultant, they will be preparing the final tender documents for us based on the selection, the direction by council. If at that time when we tender those documents, if that value exceeds what has been budgeted for this project, we would then come back and provide you with that information before proceeding. So that ideally, our goal is to keep it under budget always, but we do have that 122.5 to provide for this project as approved by council in the 2025 budget.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Supplemental though, but you said that you were bringing back an amended report anyway.
So through the
Yeah,
mayor to
with the
Deputy
money
Mayor
that she's-
Cox, just
Sorry.
the total signage. So the signage plan and implementation strategy that was last amended in October 2023 to reflect the work that's been done on that larger plan. But, there has been work that's currently underway and that's been completed in 2024 as part of the signage plan. And I'd like to update the report based on your direction today on what you'd like to do. So, and what is remaining to do next year, so that it's accurate and reflects the work
Yeah.
that's been done and we are doing. So
And that's what I'd like to see. So this 97.5 is for the signs, and then each sign is at least $15,000 on top of this. Excuse me, that she said to put it on the highway that it would cost.
So through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cox, that is the estimated total cost to make, install, and complete those signs. Although it does, within the report, we have indicated that permitting, through the MTO may be extra, but that is the full estimated cost of the project.
Mentioned that it was a $15,000. You said that each sign through the company. Yeah, you said that about 15,000 each, that somebody had said that to you, that they previously you spoke to people who had to put it on the highway.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cox, maybe it was just, I didn't fully explain myself, but based on the conversations I've had with other municipal staff, the cost of them doing similar projects for the signs themselves were between 15 and 25,000. But that includes the total cost of the project. We don't, after, this is through, we don't anticipate having to pay MTO any money for, renting the property or whatever. Once it's there, we've paid for those permits. We've acquired the permission to put them in those locations. And then, we maintain them and do what we need to do to keep them looking nice, but we're not required to provide them any additional funds after that.
It just wasn't clear. Thanks.
Councillor McIntyre.
Thank you through the mayor. Just to be clear here, it's $97,500 if we select number 3. And that 97,500 includes the work you've already done, out the door sign, installed, and there's 5 of them for 97,500. They're not 97,500 apiece.
Through the mayor to Councillor McIntyre, that is correct. That's for all of the 5 signs, the making of the signs, the installation of the signs to, close the project and move on.
So therefore, my follow-up would be just short of $20,000 a sign. That's from what I see the most elaborate design and the one that mostly is favored by this group. So it's just short of $20,000, 19,000 and some change per sign, and we get 5 of them.
Through the mayor to Councillor McIntyre, that is correct. And, these are based on estimates and, hopefully we can, work with the consultant to get the tender documents done as quickly as possible after we acquire the MTO approvals that we need in order to put the signs in the locations we're proposing, on our behalf, faster the better, so that we can secure and lock in a cost that is, around this cost. But that's why, with a little bit of contingency, the 122,500 was asked for.
Thank you for your effort. I'm still staying with number 3 and less than 20 a sign. Thank you.
Any further comments? So I think Tracy's looking for direction from us. She's going to bring back a report with a fixed cost, correct? Yes.
Through, in response to your question to the mayor, if that is something that you would like staff to do, the report is based on the draft recommendation. We're just, as long as we don't exceed the budgeted cost, we don't see the need to return to council. But if that is something that you would like, then of course we can do so.
Councillor Minnigs.
I thank you. I don't see a need to return to council. The numbers are here and they're comprehensive. Based on the original concept quotes, it's 97.5, but the approved budget is 122.5. So I would only, no. Okay, maybe under recommendations, the amount may be incorrect, but it is 122.5. Is the approved budget amount. So unless it comes in over the approved budget amount, it appears to me that staff have a little bit of leeway to firm up these numbers. We've got all the information we need, and it's just going to feed our economic development, our exposure, and I don't see why we would have to delay it and have it come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you. I agree. I don't think we need to come back. I do just want to piggyback on what Councillor Taylor said about the note that each of the 5 signs could have a different logo graphic. I think that would look nice and reflect our overall logo. The other piece is the shrubbery around it. I think that also would add a lot of character and make the sign really pop out from the background.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just to further what member Jansen was saying, what are your thoughts, Tracy, as having a laser cut do you propose like 5 different laser cuts on the bottom, or is that an issue there? Because I think you could get something a little more flashier than the leaves there I'd like to hear what your comment is, and I would still go with option 3, and we stay under budget. And you're saying the budget is 112, so I'd just like to know your thoughts on what you put on that right-hand corner of the sign.
So through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, I think that is something that we can explore if that's direction from council. I think we would like potentially to determine what those should be. based on those. As we know, each one is of each panel of the logo was brought forward initially by each representative council. So they felt those panels were most representative of their ward. So I would say in that case, we would use those that were brought forward by those members of council at that time to represent the logo to be used for those respective signs as a potential solution.
Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Cox.
So through the chair to Tracy. Would it make a difference in cost if we have to do them all different?
Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Cox, I wouldn't anticipate it because it's work they're already doing. If it's very intricate, there could be an additional cost. Of course, the two the ones that are on the draft concepts or the trees, they seem the most simple, but we'd work with them, whoever was chosen to try and not have that. But we'll have to see at the time to see what they propose.
Any further comments? Just the lighting. Councillor Minnings.
Thanks. Before the motion's read, could you kindly confirm whether the budgeted amount that we have, I don't have the budget package with me, is 112,500 or if it's 122,500? I'm not sure which is the typo.
Okay.
Thank you.
For you, so the budget is 112,500.
Just Tracy, the lighting, is it solar lighting that we're going to use?
To the mayor, yes, in this situation, of course, that would be the only solution. So that would be,
All right.
thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, I think the majority would want number 3.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay, so the motion reads that administration report number A24-042 dated December 18th, 2024 regarding gateway signage designs be received. And that council recommends that staff proceed with concept 3 and that staff work with the consultant to complete the technical site assessments, engineering review, permit approvals, and preparation of tender documents. And that staff issue the completed tender documents for request for quote for sign fabrication and the installation of 5 signs based on concept 3. And further that any approved quote is not to exceed $112,500.
Okay, mover and a seconder. Please move by Councillor McIntyre, second by Councillor Minnings. All in favor? That is carried. We're going to take a 5-minute New business K1 General Program Grant Application MTM Conservation Authority Association. Who would like to speak to that? Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So we received this grant application last week. So in the idea of time and giving them an answer before the winter break, we thought we'd throw it on today's agenda. So council did have a contingency left over in their grant budget at the end of budget. So it's completely in council's discretion.
Deputy Mayor Cox.
Through the chair, I think I had brought forward another one too, and clerk has mentioned that maybe we should leave anything that's brought forward until we get our new grant application policy.
Councillor Taylor.
I can speak to this group. We've got involved a couple of years ago where they were up, picked up garbage, put it in garbage bags. I got a hold of Public Works. Public Works picked it up and they got a voucher from the county, took it to the, so I do know that they're a volunteer group, not for profit. They do a lot of work there. They do work in tandem with Georgian Bay Forever and Severn Sound. And I think they're a quality association. I think we should consider giving them maybe $1,000. I think we've got a contingency of 20,000 in there, and I think it's go case by case, and they would probably want to know sooner than later that we support them.
Member Minnies.
Thank you. The question is, how much is in the contingency? Thank you. And while you're looking, maybe I'll ask my second question, which is related, is that I know in past 2 years I've been on council that there have been remaining amounts in the grant budget, and not everybody may be aware of that, and other grants do come up through the year. Not everybody is has a concept ready in, I think, the fall, September, whenever we request our deadline. So I'm wondering if there's either something that council has historically where we do a second call, like a second intake, that would give people an opportunity to use the final contingency, sort of like you've got till March 31st now to apply for the remainder for 2025, or if we'll continue to do these as one-offs if the funds permit.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So your remaining contingency at the end of budget, oh gosh, it's around 20,000. Yeah, because you spent $25,223 at budget on awarded grants, and your total budget for the year is 45,000. So you're about 25, or sorry, about 20 some odd remaining. So there's space. With respect to discussions about whether or not there should be a call during the year for a second round of applications, I would suggest we hold that until we discuss the new grant policy, which will come forward. And then that can be part of that broader discussion about how we want to deal with grants going forward into the future. The one thing I might note, if council's looking for some, council recently awarded the Aurelia Fish and Game Conservation Club, which is a similar one working on another wetland restoration piece, $750. So if you're looking to treat your conservation groups comparatively simple or consistently, that's a number that you used recently at just your November meeting. Further, I do note that this group references that they work with Georgian Bay Forever, who also just received a grant towards the Phragmites work as well. So just for council's information, we're trying to gauge where they want to land on this one.
Cox.
I have no problem with a grant for these people, because that is I don't know if you call it a heritage site or a acknowledged wetland. And I don't have a problem with giving them money at all. It's just, if we're going to give grants out, we need to make sure that we're doing it with the idea that if one is waiting for a new policy, do they all wait for a new policy? So I have no problem with giving these people $1,500, because that Matchedash Bay is a very important wetland that really needs some help. So I don't have a problem with giving it to them. It's the fact, do we give it to them now, or do we wait until the policy's changed so that it all comes through at the same time? And I'm just looking for the clerk for some clarification.
So staff are targeting April to bring the first draft of a new grants policy forward. So it's really up to council how they want to choose to proceed. I mean, council has historically operated on a one-off basis. That said, there's not a lot of work this group is going to do on dealing with Phragmites and such at this point till the spring anyway. So it's entirely up to council as to how you want to proceed for today.
Counselor Brennan.
Yeah, I have no problem with the $1,500. I have no problem with it being now. Kind of work they're talking about is nasty, tough work that they're taking on here. $1,500 is a bargain. It's $100 and something a day just to rent a trimming device for one person, for God's sake. So, man, this is a steal as far as I'm concerned, and it does contribute to our tourism goals.
Counselor Taylor.
Yeah, I support what Councillor Brennan is saying, I did support really a naturalist, but that's in Oromodonte. This is in Severn, a hotspot, Match Dash Bay, and I think we should promote this and help this organization out, and I would support the 1,500 at this time.
Counselor McIntyre.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm in support of the 1,500 because they do work with the three boggy areas. They are with Severn Sound. I presume the MTM stands for Matchetach, Tiny Marsh, and Marl Lake. MTM would be the letters, call letters. But 100% I'm with the other members of council who have a notion that $1,500, you're not going far, but at least we're putting our foot in the door to help. So I would agree with the $1,500, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Clerk, I think we have consensus on the 15, please. If you have a motion.
Motion reads that a general program grant be awarded to MTM Conservation Association in the amount of $1,500.
Moved by Counselor Minning, second by Counselor Taylor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have to go into closed session, Madam Clerk. Unless there's any announcements. Any announcements?
In that case, the motion reads that committee resolve in a closed session and that the meeting is hereby now closed to the public pursuant to the Municipal Act SO 2001, Chapter 25, Section 2392, for the purpose of considering the security of the property of the municipality or local board and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Counselor McIntyre, second by Counselor Brennan. All in favor? Madam Clerk, we can come out of camera.
Okay, so motion reads that closed session adjourned at 10:37 a.m. and the meeting is hereby now reopened to the public.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That's carried.
Okay, first motion. That administration report C-2406 dated December 18th, 2024 regarding a sole source procurement managed services be received. The council approved the sole source procurement of the managed services at a cost of $115,396, including non-recoverable HST.
Seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jansen, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That's carried.
Next motion is the confidential planning report number P24-047 dated December 18th, 2024 with respect to a notice of motion filed with the Ontario Land Tribunal OLT regarding 4331 Utah Line be received and that staff proceed with option 1 as outlined within the report.
Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. General bylaws, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Motion reads that bylaws number 2024-71 through 2024-80 be and are hereby read a first, second, third time and finally passed.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Taylor, second by Deputy Mayor Cox. All in favor? That is carried. Confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Motion reads that bylaw number 2024-81 be and is hereby read a first, second, third time and finally passed.
Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Jansen, second by Councillor Minnings. All in favor? That is carried. And adjournment.
This meeting is adjourned at
Mover.
10:39 a.m.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you very much for 2024. Stay safe.